it with music, beautiful music. Hello, I'm Fred Miller. This is yet another one of my lectures in song, and before we launch into all that wonderful catalog of songs sung throughout our history during wartime, a little bit of information about me. I was born in Albuquerque, New Mexico, had a wonderful classical piano teacher. I was into Bach, Beethoven, and Brahms, and then suddenly on my 13th birthday, the very day I turned into a teenager, the Beatles arrived in America, and my musical loyalties were naturally split pretty equally between the great rock songs of the 60s and classical music. And that would go on through high school till the summer after I graduated, when I hitchhiked with a friend from New Mexico to the Woodstock Festival. I'm even very prominently there in the poster. That was it, though, for rock music for me. For some reason, that was the peak of the rock age, and I really wasn't interested anymore. I did want to be a musician. I wasn't sure how that was going to look. I was due to go to college that fall. I went very briefly, left, got a VW Bug, tootled around the country, finally settled in Greenwich Village, and at some point somebody gave me an album of Ella Fitzgerald singing Cole Porter, and here I am. Gershwin, Porter, Kern, Rogers, Berlin, Fred Astaire, Judy Garland, Ethel Merman, Frank Sinatra, Bing Crosby, the whole world of American popular song. And I came up with the concept of a lecture in song. That would be my format. Each one be a profile of a great personality or some aspect of American popular song. I started initially with 6 programs, and now to date I have 75 different lectures in song, each one described in detail at fredmillermusic.com. The program at hand falls under the category of holidays. I wouldn't call this a celebration sort of kind of holiday. It's more an observance. I think it's a tribute to, well, the holidays that really is appropriate for are Memorial Day and Veterans Day. This is a whole selection of songs that Americans have sung during wartime, and I think it serves as a tribute to all the veterans who have fought those wars throughout our history as well. The question about war itself, this is one of the great questions of mankind, facing mankind always. When attacked, do you fight back? And of course, if you value your life and your family and those around you and your community and your country, the answer is without a doubt, yes. I think the certainty of that answer, that affirmative answer, really ceased to be so clear and confident, starting sometime in the 1950s and the 1960s. Common sense and I think just a natural sense of self-preservation really vacated the American mainstream at that time. And I don't think it's any coincidence that our culture as well, and particularly the songs, really started to deteriorate as well, the quality of it all. Let me give you a quote here from, I think, one of our very greatest orators and certainly one of our great soldiers, and that was Douglas MacArthur, in his final address to the West Point cadets in 1962. This is in regard to war. The long gray line has never failed us. Were you to do so, a million ghosts in olive drab and brown khaki and blue and gray would rise from their white crosses, thundering those magic words, duty, honor, country. This does not mean that you are warmongers. On the contrary, the soldier above all of the people prays for peace, for he must suffer and hear and bear the deepest wounds and scars of war. But always in our ears ring the ominous words of Plato, the wisest of all philosophers. Only the dead have seen the end of war. Well, one way of dealing with that inevitability that seems to be with us forever has been, of course, music, art, popular songs. It really has provided optimism and inspiration in the face of the most unthinkable sort of horror. And it also has given a common purpose, really, both to the people back at home and, of course, to the people fighting the wars themselves. And this really serves, I think, going through these songs serves as almost a walk through American history as well. Let's go back to the Revolutionary War, really our first great conflict, defining conflict, really. This is a song that was very much hated, of course, understandably by the British. It inspired and really fired up the colonists. It really appeared as, I think, initially as a broadside, one of those posters put on the side of a building, and everybody would read it and look at it, and they would know the tune, and there it was, part of the whole fight. Yankee Doodle went to town riding on a pony, stuck a feather in his hat and called it macaroni. Yankee Doodle, keep it up, Yankee Doodle dandy, mind the music and the step, and with the girls be handy. Now it gets a little more political here. Father and I went down to Cap, along with Captain Gooden. There we saw the men and boys as thick as hasty pudding. Yankee Doodle, keep it up, Yankee Doodle dandy, mind the music and the step, and with the girls be handy. There was Captain Washington upon a slapping stallion, giving orders to his men, I guess there was a million. Yankee Doodle, keep it up, Yankee Doodle dandy, mind the music and the step, and with the girls be handy. Well, the British didn't quite leave, quite yet. They were still around in 1812 and 1813. And in 1814, it was September to be exact, a fellow named, he was a lawyer, his name was Francis Scott Key, and he asked permission to negotiate the release of a doctor friend who was on board a ship called the Surprise in Baltimore Harbor. He boarded the ship, and in the course of this, during the negotiation, suddenly there was a surprise attack on the Fort McHenry, right there, by the British on the American fort, and this battle raged throughout the night. And then, in the morning, somehow it looked like the Americans had won their second War of Independence. The flag had been hoisted there. This, of course, turned into a poem almost immediately the next day, and a week later was published. This is September 20th, 1814. It has served now since 1931 as our official national anthem, and I'm going to do, of course, the best known of the four verses, really maybe the only one anybody really knows. To a tune that was popular in that time called Anacreon in Heaven. Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's